Hello and welcome to SC Media, your source for breaking cybersecurity news and analysis. I'm Tom Spring, journalist with SC Media, and today we're diving into one of the biggest stories shaking the tech world, Google's massive $32 billion acquisition of Wiz. This record-breaking deal has everyone buzzing about the future of cloud security and what it means for the broader cybersecurity market. Joining me to discuss the implications of this landmark acquisition is Bob Ackerman, founder and managing director of Allegis Cyber Capital and co-founder of DataTribe. Bob is widely regarded as a founding father of cybersecurity venture capital. He brings his deep insight into where the industry is headed. So let's jump right in. Welcome, Bob. Thank you so much for connecting with us today.
Tom, it's great to be with you. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah. So let's get right to the point. From your vantage point, we've got a very big deal today. From your vantage point, as both a cybersecurity investor and a founder of DataTribe, what's your initial take on Google's decision to acquire Wiz for $32 billion?
Well, obviously, they see a major problem and see a major solution in Wiz. So, and look, it's exciting. The two have been dancing together for some time now, but I think it really it really recognizes, in particular, the importance of hybrid cloud environments and the fact that we've had significant vulnerabilities in those hybrid environments, and Wiz is definitely best in class of kind of managing the complexity of security in that environment. So I think it's a major step by Google recognizing that as much as Google Cloud, they'd like everything to be Google Cloud. The reality of the world is that it's hybrid, and customers need hybrid solutions, and they just bought best in class. So.
Yeah, no, perfect. Wiz was reportedly valued at 12 to 16 billion dollars in recent funding rounds, but ended up selling for double that. What does this tell you about the current appetite for cybersecurity investment, and how do you think it might shape valuations in this sector moving forward?
Well, number one, I think, cyber just continues to grow in importance day to day. The cybersecurity really represents the existential threat to that digitized global substrate. And as the global economy continues to digitize, the cost and consequences of cyber threats continues to go up. So I think at one level, it just validates why cyber is important. The fact that cyber is largely insulated from some of the volatility that goes with economies because the cyber threats are persistent. I think in this environment where people are looking where to deploy capital, I think it comes back and reinforces that cyber is important, cyber is resilient, and there, quite frankly, is a lot of money to be made if you can deliver compelling solutions. And I think, Wiz has delivered a compelling solution. I think you have to be careful that this, you look at the multiple on this transaction, by some reports, it's better than 40 times current ARR. I don't think that every cybersecurity company should now apply a 40x multiple to their revenues and expect that as their valuation. I think this is an extreme case. I'll call them an outlier, of a unicorn. But I think it does validate the fact that cyber continues to be important, that every major tech company, every major tech platform is going to be investing aggressively and building out the cyber capabilities of their platform. It's essential to be able to compete. And this is just another one of those examples.
Great. Well, yeah, I mean, you talked about an outlier, but Google has made several security-centric acquisitions in the last year, Mandiant, Amplify, and now Wiz.
Yep.
Is this a game changer for the cloud security market? And how do you see the competition stacking up against the likes of Microsoft and Amazon?
Well, look, it puts a lot of pressure on the other cloud providers. Every one of them has their own, security platforms for their cloud environment, and they've tried to extend those platforms, recognizing that cloud computing is a hybrid environment. But frankly, the security capabilities that are native on their platform are always superior to the ones they offer for their competitors. Uh, this move on Google's part is taking best of class and extending it across the entire sector. So I think it gives Google a significant competitive advantage, and it will raise the bar for the other, cloud providers to develop some sort of a similar capability in response.
Yeah.
The table stakes just got raised.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting. Shifting gears a little bit, thinking about regulatory and antitrust concerns. Google has been in the crosshairs for its, for antitrust issues. How do you expect regulators to view this acquisition in terms of the consolidation of the space, or as it may seem?
Well, I think on the one hand, again, you go back to we all need to be more secure. These platforms need to be more secure. The pace of innovation from a cyber threat and a cyber defense perspective continues to accelerate. So I think we're going to see a lot more acquisition just out of necessity. Again, as we talked about earlier, every major tech platform is going to have to make significant investments in their security capabilities for their platforms to be competitive in the market. So this is all part of that process. I would hate to see the regulators get in the way of us building more secure platforms. And I think part of the calculus here has got to be that in the current regulatory environment, probably going to be less of an issue on antitrust than it might have been, under the Biden administration. I mean, the rumors are the last time these two talked, one of the major considerations for not doing a deal was regulatory.
Mm.
And that regulatory environment has shifted in a material way. I think it makes it easier for these types of transactions to get done, which I think is probably pretty important in terms of allowing the security sector to track with the pace of innovation. We can't have the innovation held back by a regulatory environment and be less secure as a result.
Yeah, yeah. No, good points for sure. In terms of the you touched on a multi-cloud environment. Wiz has always emphasized that it will remain a multi-cloud security platform under Google. But how realistic do you think this is? For Wiz, in terms of how Google looks at its own rivals and that continued multi-cloud security platform support.
Well, though that's the $32 billion question, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's you just went off and bought best in class, gives you a competitive advantage. You don't want to squander that opportunity by trying to control it too tightly. So it's a totally fair question. Uh, any company when they make an acquisition wants to leverage that acquisition for its unfair competitive advantage. But you've got to walk a fine line in this particular case in understanding that your clients want hybrid security, and your ability to offer a superior hybrid security offering will be your differentiation. So I'm sure there's going to be a balancing act inside of Google, and just pragmatically stepping back from sort of the enlightened self-interest. The industry will be better. We will always be more secure if Google's able to maintain Wiz's commitment to operating in a hybrid environment, securing hybrid cloud environments.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Let's talk a little bit. I mean, no conversation around tech these days is complete without touching on AI and the convergence of cybersecurity. Both Google and Wiz have called out AI as part of a key driver of new security threats and also solutions. Where
Yep.
where do you see the biggest opportunities or risks for AI within cybersecurity? And how might this acquisition accelerate innovation?
Well, look, I think, certainly one of the biggest challenges we have in cybersecurity today will be the application of machine learning and artificial intelligence on the threat side. That's going to require equivalent responses defensively. So I think when you're able to kind of take Wiz's capability, extend it in a hybrid environment, and then begin to layer artificial intelligence defenses, or what I call autonomic defenses, on top of that hybrid layer, uh, that's a quantum step forward in terms of how we secure these environments. So yeah, AI is, it's disruptive, it's transformative, in so many different ways when it comes to security. But I think being able to, take the Wiz platform, layer it across a hybrid environment, and then be able to add, what I call autonomic defense capabilities on top of that layer, leads to a much more secure environment.
Hmm.
So,
Right. So I'm going to shift gears a little bit more to your wheelhouse, thinking about investor from the investor perspective and the M&A exits with the Wiz acquisition coming on the heels of other high-profile cybersecurity deals. Do you believe that the M&A path is becoming more of an attractive exit plan than an IPO route for venture-backed cybersecurity firms?
yeah, look, I think the path to liquidity in cybersecurity has always favored M&A. What, maybe 2% of cybersecurity companies have a legitimate shot at an IPO. Wiz certainly was on that trajectory. The great thing for them in this case is they, from an investor perspective, they got an IPO return out of an M&A transaction, which materially de-risks that whole process of going public, in public markets that are, a little bit volatile today.
Mhm.
So I think that, good for them. I guess my initial reaction is, kind of going back and borrowing from Jaws. We're going to have to get a bigger, we're going to have to get a bigger truck to carry the money away. But credit to them. But I think that you're going to see M&A is going to predominate the exits in cybersecurity. It's always been that way. Look, we've got probably 20 companies in cyber that are of the scale where they would support an IPO. Do I expect all of them to go public? No, I don't. I think that the ones that are truly differentiated, where they represent a potential unfair competitive advantage to acquire, those companies are going to become the targets for M&A. And as we've seen, those M&A exit valuations can be highly attractive. So there's an ecosystem in cyber that looks a lot like pharma, where it's the young, innovative companies do the innovation. Once they validate that innovation, they're acquired by the big branded distribution channels. We see that playing out here. I expect we'll continue to see that to play out. And the half-life of cyber innovation is pretty short. So the big acquirers, the big platforms, are always in the market looking to acquire cyber defense capability to enhance their platforms in response to new and emerging threats. So I think this is a great example of how this system works. It's a high value example of how this system works, but it's what I expect and what I expect we'll continue to see going forward.
All right. Well, great. I want to kind of wrap things up. A last question for you. If you had to project where the next big wave of cybersecurity deals might happen, whether it's cloud infrastructure, AI, threat detection, or something else, where should we keep our eyes focused?
Well, look, I think as you alluded to earlier, this certainly raises the table stakes in cloud-based computing for the other cloud providers. They're going to have to respond somehow, some way. I think artificial intelligence and machine learning, its junior cousin, are having a transformative impact on cybersecurity, and startups that are able to significantly leverage that capability and differentiate their offerings are going to find themselves to be highly sought after by the big platform players who look to integrate that capability into their existing systems. I think there's a whole series of new and emerging threats that we need to think about. It's probably early days, but you start thinking about things like deepfakes. You start thinking about technologies in and around provenance as it relates to artificial intelligence, and sort of the integrity and the trust associated with the models that are generated, the data traded with. I mean, we're facing an entirely new wave of innovation, and every time I say that, I feel like it ought to go on for 5 or 6 years. and it feels like it's got about an 18-month half-life. And it's just that pace of innovation. Because remember, in cybersecurity, the innovation is actually driven by the offense. It's the bad guys that are out there every day who are very bright, very talented, unconstrained in their behavior, highly motivated. They're looking for new and unusual ways to compromise your infrastructure to achieve whatever their nefarious goals and objectives are. They are the ones that drive innovation. And so they are at it 724, 168 hours a week, 52 weeks a year. They do not stop. They do not quit. And they keep us all on our toes, and they keep innovation moving. And that feeds the need for next generation defensive capabilities. And of course, those defensive capabilities need to be rolled into the platforms. And the fastest way to do that is through M&A. It still takes 10 to 12 years to build a company, in most cases, to go public. I think what you see with really disruptive innovation in cybersecurity is the path to liquidity, and unless you're going for an IPO, is about half that. And just because once you've demonstrated and validated the innovation, and you've demonstrated the market demand for that capability, if the market's large enough, you're going to find a willing list of buyers who want to integrate that platform into that technology into their platform to blow it out to the broader market. And what that does is it really kind of reduces the overall capital requirements for those young companies. It accelerates their growth, shorter time to return, and again, starts looking a lot like biopharma.
I got to tell you, you are a font of information and knowledge, and I really appreciate your taking the time and shedding some light onto this deal, and also, shedding light onto the market dynamics behind it. Bob, I want to thank you so much for your time and breaking down the big story of the day. And thank you very much again.
Hey, Tom, it's always a pleasure. And I look forward to the next one.
All right, take care.
Take it easy.